Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about why Ray Dalio is wrong about China's rise to power when he's talking about the changing world order. Recently, hedge fund manager and billionaire investor Ray Dalio gave a presentation on his thesis that China will eventually replace the United States as the world's dominant superpower. In the wake of Dalio's statement, there has been a lot of discussion about whether or not his predictions are accurate. And today we're going to take a look at Dalio's thesis and see if it holds up to scrutiny. I'm going to quickly review 9 flaws in Dalio's thesis. I know it sounds like a lot, but I'm going to go through them very quickly. But before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe because every week I review tons of information that will affect your investment future. But now let's dive right into these 9 flaws. Number 1. When one empire falls, another one often rises up in its place. This was certainly the case throughout much of human history, with each new empire seeking to outdo its predecessor. But more importantly, each new empire also tended to have more freedom than the one it replaced. This pattern does not hold true in China. Despite enduring numerous changes in dynasties over the centuries, China has remained an authoritarian state throughout its long history. In fact, each new dynasty has tended to be even more oppressive than the last. This is likely due to the fact that China has always been a highly centralized state with a single ruler wielding absolute power over the entire country. As a result, each new regime has simply maintained the status quo rather than introducing any sort of meaningful change. Number 2, an exploding population. Ray Dalio suggests that the new empire must have a rising, if not exploding, population, which again is not true with China. China is set to see its population fall at an accelerating pace over the coming decades due to the insane Communist Party one-child policy having effectively killed any prospects for the rise of China. The one-child policy is also placing a heavy burden on the economy due to its aging population, while the U.S. remain on an upward trajectory for many decades to come. If the U.S. wanted to increase its population, it could simply open its border and people would be flooding in. No one is trying to migrate to an authoritarian and xenophobic China. Number 3, territorial expansion. Many of the factors mentioned here are pushing China to break out of its containment, which makes a war with China more likely within the next 10 years. We are already seeing China's efforts to expand its influence in the South China Sea, Taiwan, and with the massive Belt and Road initiatives. The Chinese High Command will see this as a case of now or never. Just as the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor was ordered because Japan knew they could not compete with the United States in terms of buildup in armaments, so it was a case of hitting the United States now or never. And China is probably planning to give the US a knockout punch by taking over Taiwan. Which brings us to number 4, military capability. Dalio argues that China will eventually become militarily superior to the United States. While it is true that China is investing heavily in its military, it still lags behind the United States in terms of overall capability. The United States spends more on defense than the next 7 countries combined, and it has a significantly larger nuclear arsenal than China. Additionally, the United States has decades of experience fighting wars all over the world, while China has largely been limited to its own region. So while China may catch up to the United States militarily in the future, it is unlikely to surpass it. The US also has many allies that would support the US in a conflict against China. And I'm not sure if Iran, Russia, or North Korea would support China in the same fashion. Number 5, economic strength. China is only an economic power because it has the largest population. The US GDP per capita was $66,000 in 2020, while in China it was only $11,000. Why? Because they're mainly manufacturing cheap consumer products for Walmart and other mass retailers. The real estate crisis in China with Evergrande and other developers will also put a strain on the Chinese people, the country, and will weaken China and its ambition. Number 6, technology. China is at war with foreign technology. It's no secret that China is forcing foreign companies that want to do business in China to share their technology, which it then copies for its own purpose. Chinese companies are also spying on other countries. The United States effectively outlawed Chinese tech firms such as Huawei due to security concerns. And copying technology from other countries means that China will always be behind. So these factors will make US tech giants even more dominant. New technologies cannot be built without individual freedom. And that's the problem with authoritarian states. They don't get the big picture. All right, we're almost there. Number 7, the Chinese people are not unified behind the Communist Party. Dalio argues that China will be able to maintain its current economic growth for decades because the Chinese people are unified behind the Communist Party. How can you know that the Chinese people are supporting the Communist Party since they are being oppressed and have no freedom of speech? It also ignores the fact that there is significant discontent among the Chinese people with regards to income inequality and human rights abuses by the government. If this discontent were to boil over into widespread protests or even a revolt, it could derail China's plans for continued economic domination. Number 8, foreign investment. The lack of transparency in terms of businesses, the country's economy, and the restrictions of movement and individual rights make it hard for a foreigner to invest in China. Foreign investment is critical to an exploding economy, and China may find it difficult to encourage foreign investments, while a US company can easily raise funds from anywhere in the world. Number 9, reserve currency. For a country's currency to become a reserve currency, it has to be stable. The country has to be part of a free market. The country has to be somewhat transparent and share economic data with the world. These make strong points against using the Chinese yuan as a reserve currency due to its lack of transparency and constant government manipulation. So, what do you think? Will China eventually supplant the United States as the world's leading superpower? Or will America find a way to adapt and remain on top? Only time will tell for sure. Before then, make sure you like and subscribe because I stay on top of all the major issues that will affect your financial future. See you next week.